Hey, welcome everyone. Looking forward. We've been talking a lot about innovation throughout the last 2 days. And I think the big topic here is really how to overcome those roadblocks that we face within innovation. So I'll quickly start off by introducing myself, and then I'll ask you to do the same. So my name is Daanyaal Bandukwala. I'm the Managing Director of Next Vision Group and Next Vision Healthcare Consulting. We consult across pharma and biotech on various topics in the commercial side of the business. Pass it to you.
Go ahead.
Sure, I'm Niousha Ghazni. I am a Senior Director of Global Strategic Marketing and Portfolio Planning with Emergent Biosolutions.
And I'm Jose Fabregas, Head of Commercial Innovation and Transformation at Sanofi.
Awesome. Thank you both. So to start, as I mentioned, innovation is a really big topic, something we try to spend quite a bit of time on. And I think one large thing that we look at is how do we manage uncertainty within innovation? So, Niousha, I'll start with you. How do you approach and manage uncertainty surrounding, emerging technologies or platforms, regulations, things like that within your team?
It's a great question, and I know we were prepping and talking about this beforehand. And a lot of time the uncertainty, at least I believe, comes from the not knowing or lacking the education or the information that you need. And I think just inherently as human beings, that causes us to immediately go to, well, if I don't know what this is about, then I'm gonna not adopt it or think about it. And I would encourage all of us to have that growth mindset to say, if there is uncertainty, let's do our research and get ourselves educated on what it is exactly we're trying to do when we approach innovation, and not just for us, but our cross-functional partners as well that we work with.
Jose, anything to add?
Yeah, I would say it comes down a lot to transparency, right? So every innovation has some people excited about it and some people being afraid about it. And it usually comes from a place of fear,
Definitely.
right? Either because, my job is being at risk, or I just don't think this is going to work, right? So I think having those honest conversations and acknowledging that every innovation that we're bringing, it's going to imply change, and change will hurt, right? And as long as you're being transparent and you're offering the required support for everyone impacted by it, you will be able to have those conversations, right? And understand what the issue is and address them from the very beginning, and that will reduce a lot of friction when you're trying to carry on with this project.
That makes sense. This question specifically I thought of as, there's a lot of vendors here as well. And I know vendors sometimes when they come with a new innovative solution to pharma partners, a lot of the discussion turns into compliance and legal and what we can actually do. So I don't know if there's anyone from compliance or legal in here, but I think it's a hot question, right? So how do we, with all this innovation going on, how do we partner appropriately with our compliance and legal partners to ensure we're all on the same page? We need to follow regulations. We're a heavily regulated industry, but how do we make it happen? How do we make it work? It's a big question. It's a loaded question.
So it's actually not only legal like compliance, right? You have procurement in there, you have medical affairs, you have to convince a ton of people to implement any of the bright things that we've seen here today. I would say, and there's another component to it that is this going to be readily available on time, right?
Yes.
Because I believe we're a little bit short-sighted in terms of innovation. We need to get something to the market quickly because competition is fierce and we have budgets to meet and deadlines to meet. So I think that is where I use agile.
Yes.
A lot, not the full methodology before everybody gets a headache here, but the mindset, right? This is the need or the unmet need that we want to address with this solution, right? We have one of the innovations we saw here today that is an option, right? What are your concerns? Again, having that transparent conversation to understand what the concern is, and when you use the agile mindset, then you can set up a minimum viable product or even a pilot, right, to reduce everyone's uncertainty around the table, and that helps, right, bringing people on board with these kind of projects.
Makes sense. Niousha, anything to add?
I would completely wholeheartedly agree, and I would also add any of those cross-functional partners that we tend to get challenges from, involve them very, very early on, and involve them early and come prepared. So if you are going to your legal partner or your compliance partner, we had a great talk yesterday with the compliance officer, but if you are going to them and you need their buy-in, bring whatever information you have. And I always break it down into, I just use a template where I do the 5 W's and the H. Just one slide, one sentence addressing like, what are we doing, why, who, why is this important, how are we going to do it, to whatever extent information you have, and come prepared and come in with that mindset of, I am coming to you because we don't have this flushed out, but this is what I know, and I want to bring you up to speed. And I find that gets a lot of buy-in to your innovation ideas and turns them into solution-oriented stakeholders for your programs.
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a large piece that we deal with as well is when we have these innovative ideas or platforms, the concept of return on innovation. And this is something you guys both brought up while we were discussing this. And I guess curating and building the right business case for your leadership team and your senior team to ensure they buy into the concept, right? You can spend a lot of time on these ideas, but if there's ultimately no buy-in internally, you're stuck. So some tips on that, some cases, maybe examples of how you've done it. Niousha, we'll start with you.
Sure. Anyone who's worked with me knows I'm big on ROI, and that goes with innovation as well. So if anyone from my team comes to me with an innovative idea, I want you to have thought through some way that there's a return on investment. And I recognize it's not perfect, and I recognize that there isn't like a specific TRX or NBRX number associated with it, but think through how you would show success in that innovation. So if we were to do this, we would increase engagement, or we would capture a broader audience of customers we didn't get before, or we would increase scripts, and this is what I think it is. But go through that thought process of at least saying, if we're gonna, because innovation does cost money, if we are going to invest and we are going to spend money towards this idea, what would you hope is the ideal outcome coming out of this? And if we don't achieve that, that's okay, because it's an innovative idea. There's going to be multiple iterations of it, and we will refine that goal as we move along.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I do a bit differently about ROI is I don't use it as a gatekeeper.
Okay.
To assess whether a project moves forward or not, but more as a success measure of the initiative per se. Because I mean, and when I'm evaluating anything that the team brings to the innovation table, is I'm not asking about that much to get the go or no go. Okay. But more, show me what you're going to track, right? Show me what we're going to learn from this experience. Because, when I was proposing projects in the past, I hated that question, right? I mean, what's the ROI on this? Yeah. Well, what's the ROI on everything we do now? You're not asking for it. Just because it's new, right? Then it gets more questioned. But yeah, I mean, it's essential indeed, because we're in a business and we need to produce some benefit out of it, but I don't necessarily use it as a decision factor for go or no go.
That's fair. That makes sense. And I think, speaking to that, internal roadblocks exist. We know that. And overcoming those internal roadblocks are extremely important. So, Jose, I'll start with you. You mentioned pilots and minimum viable product. What are some things that you've implemented or your organization has implemented with regards to internal processes to become more efficient and to keep the momentum going when it comes to innovation?
So it's really difficult, right? Because when you're proposing innovation, there is a sweet spot. Yeah. If you're aiming too broadly, you scare people off. Yeah. Right. If you're proposing something too big, if you're proposing something too small, then it's not worth it. Yeah. So there's this sweet spot that you have to find to get your project to move forward, especially when you're pitching to senior leaders and so on. The thing is, when I use what I use is I don't pitch projects per se, but I pitch needs or problems that we're trying to solve, right? And then when I get everyone to agree
Yes.
that, yeah, this is something we need to tackle, then the how are we going to do it? I have an agreement on the what we're trying to do, and then the how, it's easier. It's easier because we have options, we evaluate, but everybody's already bought in the idea that we're going to have to do something to solve this issue that we're having.
That makes sense. Niousha?
Yeah, it's, I agree that if it's too broad, it does scare certain people away. One of the things we've implemented is we have a standing, and if you were part of my last session, I was talking about our weekly meetings where we collaborate. So as part of that meeting, we allocate now 10 minutes at the very end for any sort of innovative idea that has come forward, be it from the field, from medical, from regulatory, from whoever else it is, and gives them the opportunity to come and present their idea to us with the intent that there is follow-up and due diligence and accountability after the fact. And if it's not something we adopt, we always go back and let the individual know why or why not now. But we do allow that forum for different ideas to flow through. So that's one thing we do. The other is I encourage my team to come to events like this. So go out, be in the environment, learn about what's going on and bring it back, because if we all work within the silo of our company and that's all we know, how are we actually thinking differently about other things that could exist?
Makes sense. Big thing to what you mentioned is it's a little bit of a cultural shift internally when innovation kind of comes up to foster an environment that allows for it. So that's definitely very important. So lots of discussion this conference about AI. I think when I was here last year too, that was a point of discussion as well, and it continues to be a piece of discussion. So I want to ask something a little bit more specific with regards to AI. So when we're thinking about data, right? So we see so much data, whether it's sales data or through our patient support programs or clinical data, whatever the case. How can pharma companies, and how have you guys seen this happen, harness AI and machine learning specifically to make better commercial decisions? Is there anything you guys have implemented already or looking at conceptually that makes sense? Jose, I'll start with you.
Well, there's many use cases, right?
Yeah.
We've been struggling with this. I was sharing with a friend earlier today that we're addressing the same issues we were having 10 years ago. It's just the tech that changed, right? But the issue is the same, right? How can we engage faster? How we can produce content fast enough? Who's the right person? What's the segmentation? What's the right channel? What's the right frequency? It was the same thing when I was a rep, I don't know how many years ago. It was the same discussion, just different tech. So I think this is where we need to focus on, right? We need to leverage AI not to be able to implement AI per se, but to fix the framework that we work at, right? The AI will be able to generate it for you, the content, let's say, but are you able to approve it at that pace? Are you able to deploy it at that pace? I think that's where, if we don't fix that first, implementing it will be very challenging.
So two examples I can think of, and I have to preface by saying my company is extremely conservative and we are very far behind on the AI technology stream, but two things that we did do was I work in the opioid overdose space, so we have to know real-time data on where overdoses are happening across the country and in North America. And so before we used to have someone manually looking up that data, so now we've switched to AI, whereby it picks up all the different news articles, posts, discussion boards, anything that's mentioned relating to this topic, and delivers it to us real time, which has helped quite a bit. The other area where we've used it, and I think the PAB discussion talked about this morning, is we're implementing a system to do the initial review of all our marketing materials using AI. Just very simple to ensure that, is it properly referenced? Is it properly cited? Is it in the right format? Is anything missing before it actually gets handed over to the user to review?
Very cool. So on that topic, something that comes to mind as well is we have a shorter life cycle when it comes to new products, when it comes to new innovations like this. And I think an important piece there is how can we remain agile, like you were mentioning, Jose, while maintaining quality and innovation? So Niousha, I'll start with you on this one. Just because of what you just mentioned there, when launching solutions like that, how do you ensure that you're doing it quickly in a very timely manner, because there's a window of time where it makes sense to implement that while maintaining quality and ensuring it's a good product?
It's a really unique paradigm, and I think over the years my perspective on this has changed, and we like all of us in the room here, we're all within the pharmaceutical industry or work in that industry, and we're all extremely bright and we're all achievers. And so one of the things I've done, at least with my team, is my motto has become, I need C+ work. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be perfect. Give me C+ work and we will get it out there. And through the process and all the iterations of it, we will get it to that point where it actually does work. Because there's so much learning that happens from when that idea is first implemented to what your final product is. And just given what you said about short product life cycles, we don't have the luxury of getting a product that has NOC approval, recognizing when a competitor or it might come off patent, for us to spend so much time fully thinking through what the perfect innovative solution is before we deliver it to market. So let's put out what we have, and we will immediately get feedback on if it works, if it doesn't, what parts of it, what can we fix, what are the gaps, and through the process, you realize you get to a solution that you would have never ever thought of at the beginning.
Yeah, fully. I call it good enough to go. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we don't have the time anymore. We're launching products at a far faster pace, and I think companies are shifting priorities so quickly that it ends up killing so many projects quickly. So that's precisely what I call the agile mindset, right? We don't need to have the full thing in order to launch it and then iterate upon it, right? That's fundamental. And the other piece is, perhaps that has helped me is thinking beyond the breadth, right? What I was mentioning earlier, if we're thinking about fixing a problem, let's say, trying to ease up the admin that the HCPs have for special access products, for instance, right? You're fixing that for the entire portfolio that is in that situation, right? So that's a project that can go beyond the product, that specific product life cycle. So again, but then if you pitch something as big as or as broad as that, it scares people off. So again, back to the question, to the sweet spot where you are agreeing as an organization or as a team that we're going to try and fix this problem. It's better than say we're going to launch this specific thing for this specific brand. So it gives you more time, let's say, to build broader things.
Makes sense. So last couple of questions here. When you guys think about the future trends of pharma, generally speaking, and we've heard a lot about it here over the last 2 days, what are, in your mind, some of the top 2 or 3 trends that really excite you about innovation that's coming? And what are you really excited about? That's what I want to hear about. So Jose, I'll start with you.
Yeah, definitely AI. I mean, the amount of use cases that I can think of every day. I'm a heavy AI user. I think I need to go to school and learn more on how to use it to the max. But it's, again, I'm becoming obsessed a bit more on the internal side. How can we use it inside the organization to be able to enable the organization to operate faster, so we can offer customers AI solutions? Because if we don't fix what we have inside, we'll never be able to keep up.
Makes sense. Niousha?
I would agree with that, especially given the theme of this conference. And I would take it a step further by saying, how do we use AI or any of the technology available to us to customize what it is that we're delivering, be it to our patients, our consumers, our physicians? Because I find that extremely exciting when someone really feels heard and you're able to deliver on that product. I find that resonates really, really well.
Right. So final question here. what would you tell someone in the crowd who is going through an innovative process within their organization currently, but is facing some roadblocks? Give them some words of encouragement, maybe, and some advice. I'll go to you first, Jose.
It's not anything fancy or sexy. It's just about perseverance and resilience, right? And I guess I'll get back to my very first statement is be transparent, right? I find that people that are, let's call it blocking your project, are many times they're not stating what is really the issue, right?
Yeah.
You know, this is the code, this is the no. If you're able to get people to tell you what is it, what's your fear, what is it making you afraid or scared, or what is it that specifically what you don't like, you'll be able to address them more effectively, right? So it's tough work. That is, I would say, the boring piece of innovation. But you have to do it. I mean, it's a muscle. You have to build it. Yeah? I've learned it through many frustrations and failure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Niousha?
I would echo the same perseverance. It's a lot of times I found, at least with my experience, the idea that I started with 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the line, it is totally different from what I thought it would originally be, but we get to the same goal. And you hit roadblocks along the way, and if you hit a roadblock, don't stop. Reach out, get intel from someone in your organization, speak to someone about it, read a book, research it, listen to a podcast, pick someone's brain on it, because eventually you'll find that you'll come up with a solution to overcome that roadblock, and then you'll keep moving until you get to the next one. But you'll get there to the end. Just don't stop.
Awesome. Okay, thank you both for your insights. We'll open it up to any questions that anyone may have. I'm sure someone has a question. Come on.
Cheers. I think when we think about implementing innovation in a company, it's not always this sort of apprehension to change as it is inertia in terms of people don't recognize that something's broken. Like your CRM, it's doing fine. We get the occasional complaint. So why should we, having invested so much to set up X CRM, move to another one? And so how do you actually create momentum when you're faced not necessarily with a roadblock, but with that inertia that there isn't actually a problem, and changing it now will actually cost us more money or create more problems down the road?
I would say you gotta find out what's in it for everyone, right? I mean, if you're speaking with finance, you know what you need to go to. If you're speaking with leadership, you need to somehow evaluate if your solution is contributing to the strategic direction of the company, right? If it's with the field, then you need to perhaps make their lives easier in a certain way, right? Less admin, less something, right? In the end, if your solution is not providing all of those elements for the different stakeholders, then it will not be successful, right? So I don't think maybe it's more a matter of product design. And yes, maybe be more influential having those transparent conversations, but you need to make sure that it's adding value for everyone, right? Especially the customer, right? And on top of that.
Anything to add, Niousha?
No, good. Pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap up. All right.
Amazing. Thank you. Big round of applause for this great panel. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.